it's definitely not worth watching for 24 hours straight on TBS. But I'm glad I watched it. It's a movie that I enjoyed. I could see myself putting it on the background again.
Schwartz, I triple dog dare you!
Oh, I got it now.
What's up, YouTube? It's Drive By Movies here, and you are watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaze.
And it is the season of Christmas, jolly, whatever, all that stuff. So we are checking out A Christmas Story Christmas that just came out on HBO Max.
Follow the now adult Ralphie as he returns to the house on Cleveland Street to give his kids a magical Christmas like the one he had as a child, reconnecting with childhood friends and reconciling the passing of his old man. So, A Christmas Story Christmas, or as I've been calling it, A Christmas Story Story, is the brand new film to HBO Max, the HBO Max original film, and it's brought to us by Vince Vaughn's production company. I forget what the name of his company was. Wild West Picture Show Productions. I guess he worked closely with Peter Billingsley to bring this to the screen and bring it to streaming. But anyways, this is the third film in the Christmas Story franchise, I guess you could call it. There is a second movie that was direct to DVD back in, I feel like it's 2015 or so, around there. We did watch that for Direct to Dumpster, and I feel like it's probably still in that dumpster as we speak. But
it was brutal. That was one of the hardest movies to watch, I remember.
We watched it for Christmas. But yeah, this is done in a little bit of a different light. Anyways, James, what'd you think of this movie?
Yeah, so this is a movie that I don't think anyone was asking for at all. And when it came out, I was kind of surprised. I think I remember reading an article about this movie being made, but it totally blanked my mind. And then just out of nowhere, the trailer comes out. I'm just like, oh, crap. I forgot this was a thing and the original cast is coming back. And I didn't have a whole lot of hope. I wasn't really impressed with the trailer. I don't even know if I was like paying attention, but nothing about that trailer I remember stuck out to me. But I was actually pleasantly surprised about the movie. I was like seeing that people were kind of liking it, like we're watching it a couple weeks after it came out, and I had no intentions of watching it, but because it was getting somewhat decent word of mouth, I was like, all right, let's give it a try. So I watched it the day after Thanksgiving. I was like, all right, I guess now I can get in the Christmas spirit time. So I checked it out and I was surprised. Like, I somewhat enjoyed it. It's definitely not worth watching for 24 hours straight on TBS. But I'm glad I watched it. It's a movie that I enjoyed. I could see myself putting it on the background again. But it's not like as joyous and fantastic as you would have hoped. It's definitely nowhere near in the league of the original, but it's good, nostalgic, fun, and overall pretty warm-hearted, I'd say.
Yeah, I feel like this was kind of similar. I feel like I've seen the worst Christmas Story movie with Christmas Story 2, where I was a little bit easier on this one. I don't think it really brought much to the table, but it had funny, like kind of situations in it that were similar to the original, but not so much the exact same thing. At least everything seems like it was like just a more modern version of jokes that really took place in the original. And the new cast of characters is like different enough from the original movie, I felt like. Plus, it was very charming of them bringing back, Peter Billingsley, but also many of the other childhood actors that hadn't really done a ton of stuff, but showed up in this movie, and they look totally different because they're grown up now, but you could still see that childlike look to them, I guess. I don't know. It's just, you can see the passing of time, I guess, in each one of their faces. But yeah, I liked that whole nod to it, but I feel like that's really one of the main things that kind of sold this movie. Like, if it was more along the lines of Christmas Story 2, where no one's really reprising their role, I don't think that this film really would have had anything going for it.
Yeah, overall, I think you could only go up after A Christmas Story 2 came out. That was like a big just direct-to-video movie that I remember everyone was roasting the trailer. When the movie came out, it was kind of forgotten about, but I don't think anyone gave that movie really a great review. And it's a bummer because I love Daniel Stern. I miss that guy who played Marv in the Home Alone movies. He played the role of the old man. And it's weird because I know that these characters have multiple movies that they're in, and they're based off of like book characters. I know that the narrator of the original Christmas Story film is the author of the original books, and he's also the narrator in one of the other movies. But I know that Disney Channel made a summer sequel, and there's another movie with Charles Grodin, the dad from Beethoven. He plays the old man. And I believe that movie has Kieran Culkin, a young Kieran Culkin. The Disney one had a young, I forget his name, something Plummer, the kid from Stand By Me, and Kangaroo Jack. I know he plays Ralphie in one of them too. It's just funny that this is like overall a franchise, but nobody really knows it and stuff. And this is finally like, I feel like the sequel that everyone's been waiting for all these decades later. And it hits the right spots, like, you know, it checks all the right dots, but doesn't feel like it's a rehash. Because I remember Christmas Story 2 felt like The Hangover 2, where it had all the same beats, same exact storyline, but just escalated to where it's just overall super dorky. Versus this movie, it's just a whole new story. It's just about a guy who's just trying to give his kids a good Christmas, versus the original is just a kid who just wants a present and stuff. So it's very wholesome, good fun overall. And I do like the casting in this movie overall. Like, of course, you couldn't bring all the original actors. Like, I like the way that the dad was introduced, like the old man, of course, like, you know, with him passing, like that made an interesting story of just him trying to live up to the amazing Christmas he had as a kid. And yeah, overall, like the parts that like surprised me the most were Scott, his friends, Flick and Schwartz. Like, I really enjoyed their moments of them just acting like no time has passed. It felt very natural and stuff, just because you and I, we live in different cities now, and we all have our similar friends that we don't get to see often. And it just felt very natural, where just like, yeah, a lot has changed since you last saw each other, but like when you guys hang out, it just feels very natural. And that's what this movie felt like overall. I know Peter Billingsley has been in multiple movies like over the years, but mainly small roles and stuff, but just cool to see him as a lead again. And like, he really carries a movie very well overall. Like, I really liked him and hope to see him, like, I know that in more movies, just because I know this movie was probably just, you know, let's do this for fun. This is going to be a fun passion project that'll, you know, get good amount of views, and it'll just be a fun time. And, you know, hope that like get to see him more often.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that his performance was probably the most charming thing about this movie. Even seeing him, you know, reprise that role is just awesome. One of the things that I wouldn't say is like a total gripe, but I feel like kind of lost, you know, maybe that special warmness that the original has. I think one of the things I like so much about the original is it's just like one of the warmest films ever. It feels like almost like a campfire, chilly winter, but a fire in the fireplace, and you're warming up your feet next to the fireplace in those big thick socks. At least that's how what it reminds me of, at least. But anyways, one of the things that I think specifically does that about the original film is the voiceover, the narration. It's so like that. You said it earlier. It's the author of the actual books, and his voice is just so deep, and like it just, I don't know. There's something about it, like it feels like it's like wrapping you around with a nice blanket that's been warmed up by the fire. But anyways, I felt like that was kind of missing in this movie. We have a lot of narration, but it's from Peter Billingsley, like at the time of shooting this movie. So it's kind of like almost overlaps sometimes with his actual voice in character in the movie, and then like with his voiceover, where I feel like there's not enough of a distinction. Where in the original film, you know, you have Ralphie, but his inner monologue, that voice, the narration, it's coming from, you know, an older generation, much older voice that just, you know, adds this extra element of timbre to the movie. Where this, I felt like they should have just used an old man's voice again. Maybe they can't do the same guy because he's clearly not here anymore, I would assume. But yeah, I just felt like that was one thing that I felt like could have made the film just more warm than it already was. You know, this film's still pretty cozy, but I just felt like it was missing that from the original film.
No, that's actually something I can totally agree with. Like, I'm praising Peter Billingsley within the movie, but yeah, like it would have been nice to hear. Like, it's nice hearing that reminiscing feel of a character, and just hearing like his normal voice reminiscing about what's happening currently was kind of comical, I guess you could say. And I never thought about casting like an older actor to portray that, but like, you know, part of the fun of How I Met Your Mother was we were always wondering, like, is he just gonna magically turn into Bob Saget eventually or something? But no, it's just because it just feels weird and just oddly heartwarming to hear an older, different voice or something reminiscing, and it worked well within that show and like worked well with the original movie. And I could see, yeah, it probably would have worked well. I don't know what actor we could have casted for it, but that would have been fun, and I totally actually agree with that and stuff too. But not to take away from Peter Billingsley and performance or anything, but yeah, it was fun. And like, you know, this movie was unnecessary overall, I'd say, but just it's everything that I exactly needed in the moment, I guess you could say, and it'll serve everyone just fine during the holidays. Like, I'm not going to rewatch it, I guess, this holiday season, but you know, I could see myself rewatching it maybe next year and stuff too. It's just overall fun, heartwarming time.
I know it's totally out of budget, but like if this movie went to theaters, I would have loved to. There's only one person that's like one of the most like warm voices that has portrayed some of the most iconic voices in all of cinematic history, but sometimes he does some voiceover, sometimes he doesn't. And I wish there was more voiceover left in him, but that's James Earl Jones. Like, I mean, I know it wouldn't match up, but like, who cares at that point? It would have sold that voiceover. Like,
it's funny you're saying that, because I was just thinking, like, I would listen to any book that James Earl Jones narrates or reads over for me for an audiobook. So
people love like Morgan Freeman, like his voiceovers, his narration when he does. Like, I think he just recently did one. That's the only reason I'm thinking of it. Like, I think he's the voiceover for Our Universe on Netflix, that show about planets. I could be wrong, but yeah, I feel like come on, bring James Earl Jones out of retirement, guys. Just put him in something. But,
I mean, apparently his voice is saved somewhere, so that way they can keep using it for Darth Vader to say every word in existence. But, you know, good for that. And, you know, we need more audiobooks and movies narrated by James Earl Jones. 100% agree. But yeah, like, other than that, like, of course, also the original, I remember, had a warm, like film feel. And this is obviously digital, and there's definitely like an effect on there to give it that nice, glowy, warm look to it. But, you know, with it being shot on digital, like, I remember it was way over the top in A Christmas Story too, and it looks a little bit more natural here. But yeah, I would have loved seeing that same exact style. It definitely would have added a lot more and stuff too. I think the only movie that's captured that more recently, and I don't want to praise the movie just because I don't really care for it, was the Joker movie that came out. Like, that was one of the few movies that came out recently that felt very naturally like 70s or old timey and stuff. I'm sure, of course, there's plenty of movies that get the look. Of course, Quentin Tarantino movies do that well too, but I just thought more recently and stuff. And this movie would have benefited, but, you know, it's an HBO Max movie, so you know, I assume they were just trying to get it done and just get it ready within the year and stuff, and it works well in my opinion. But are we right or wrong? Let us know in the comments below. The movie's streaming on HBO Max, very easy to check out, I'd say. Come back here, let us know what you thought about the movie in the comment section.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all our latest updates.
And if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, check us out on all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and our own personal Letterboxd accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video, everyone.